Tonight on The Political Game, we follow our politicians onto the rugby paddock and the netball court.
The politics stuff is something we do in our spare time.
We'll see how a man with a sharp sword and an ornate club keeps order in the house.
Yep, every Westminster Parliament has a mace.
And discover how a whenua claim, launched by a high-profile Māori author, might lead to a law change for the better. In New Zealand Parliament, 26 of 121 elected members are Māori. At 21%, Māori are actually overrepresented on a demographic per capita basis. The Māori, Green, Labour, New Zealand First and National parties all have Māori MPs in their ranks. And in 3 parties, Māori hold leadership roles.
Across Māori caucus in Parliament, so across all of the Māori MPs in Parliament, we've always been a bit tighter than the general politicians because whakapapa, you know, that for Māori that has always been crucial. So in Ikaro Rāwhiti, for example, we were all running, we all whakapapa to each other in different ways. You can't get away from that in Māori politics. You can't get away from whakapapa anywhere.
E nui ngā kōrero e pāna ki wānga i ngā motu. Kau tau o te whenua moi ai, ara mai ki wānga ki a tātou i roto a Aotearoa.
Tikanga Māori is deeply woven into the fabric of parliamentary procedure. And of course, as an official language of New Zealand, Te Reo Māori is frequently used in the House.
Ai he mana ko Te Reo Māori. Nā reira ahau ka tuhi i roto i Te Reo. Ahau ko ke te rongo tonu tātou ka tapepe.
I originally came as their first interpreter, full-time interpreter in 2004, and I applied for the job and got it, knowing full well that there were other aspects of the language being used in Parliament, because I previously worked with Hansard on a contract basis, transcribing some of the te reo that was spoken in the chamber, and so that sort of gave me some background as to where this position was leading into.
When there are speeches in Māori, simultaneous interpretation is instantly available in English and piped into the House so members can listen through an earpiece.
Adrian Rurafei.
Tēnā koe te māngai o te whare.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Glory and hallelujah to God of many hundreds. The sky and the earth was full with His glory, so I say it is the breath of life. From the north to the south, over to Chatham Islands, from the west up to the north to Te Reinga. These are the 4 corners of New Zealand.
Basically, it's a simultaneous interpretation as the members of Parliament or the Speaker or anyone speaks for that matter, they're given an instant interpretation of what's been said.
It's a high-pressure job, translating someone else's words and thoughts in the reo and setting them into correct and accurate English.
We observe the international rules of interpreting, and I think the standards are established by UNESCO. It's part of the rules or standards that one can only be in a translation booth for an hour and then relieve for the next hour. Or sometimes 2 may work together and alternate the speakers as they come up. Sometimes that helps with the pressure. But more often than not, we just rotate on an hourly basis.
Sometimes personal feelings have to be put aside when the subject is something deeply emotional, like a treaty settlement, that might carry the baggage of more than 100 years of grievance and dispossession.
There's a lot of unknown that could come up. As a body, you know, we're often familiar with our own tribal circumstances, with our own sayings, our pepehas, our whakataukis. A lot of us know our own history within our tribal areas. And so there are a lot of similarities, but I guess there are those things that are just peculiar to each and every tribe that sometimes might be hard to express, sometimes might be hard to pick up.
And that's the particular art of parliamentary translation, having more than literal skills, having that deeper knowledge and understanding of te reo, which can make speeches resonate across the language divide.
You need to be up with current affairs, you need to be familiar with the type of discourse that's involved in the House, world affairs, local affairs, be it central government, local government, health protection, all of those sorts of things are manifest, or all of those sorts of things are taken into account when you prepare yourself to come in and interpret in Parliament.
One time we could relax if we didn't see a Māori member in the House. Now, non-Māori are getting up and saying, "A mihi en te reo Māori."
Tēnā koutou te whare, he mihi nui ki te tauranga moana, no me haere mai ki te whare paramata.
And hello, if the interpreter is reading his paper, well, somebody's, so our guys have got to watch out for the unexpected. Koe rata kōrerope o tēnei rohe.
By world standards, New Zealand has a relatively young parliament. The youngest members are in their mid-20s, with most in their 40s and 50s. So it's little surprise then that in a sporting nation like New Zealand, Parliament can field some reasonably impressive teams.
We're Kiwis after all. That's our nature. The politics stuff is something we do in our spare time. But really, it's about having a good time, and here we are playing netball, and looking forward to getting into it.
The netball team, with former Silver Fern Lewis Ward and other serious players like Meka Whaitiri, generally cleans up. And on the court, political differences are left on the sidelines.
We've got a good cross-section of political parties represented here, which is why it's really good to play parliamentary netball, and looking forward to a really good tussle out there. Those girls look really fit. 1, 2, 3, 3!
We're called the Parley Ferns, so it's Team Parley Ferns. This is the fun part of the game, where we're out in the community and people kind of see us as ordinary human beings.
600 people in the Chatham, so I'm wondering who's left on the island, because it seems like they all seem to be here. I'm just sussing that team out. They look fairly young, you see. There's no any oldies like myself in that team, so I might have to kick them in the shins and make them fall over, and maybe that'd be 10 points on our side. But no, I predict it's going to be close, but I think Parley's going to come out on top.
For us on the island, we've been a big group who've fundraised together, worked together. We've all got busy lives, but we've taken this time out to make it to Wellington and have a good 10-day trip.
Oh man, it's hard work out there, I can tell you. It actually feels like we're behind, because we're really hunting for the ball, but they're a great side.
Awesome defense, let's go! It's all about endurance now, I guess. But the game's not over yet, so it won't be jumping up and down until the final whistle. Anything can happen in a game of netball, and we've got 8.5 minutes to go. So you never know. Let's go, ladies!
Steve, good work! Oh, bad luck. Bad luck.
The Parley Ferns team beats the Chatham Islands team 32-24.
Thank you.
Chatham's 3 cheers for Parley Ferns.
But as we'll see, the parliamentary men were even more emphatic winners, grabbing glory on a very muddy paddock.
Give them nothing, boys. Don't worry about the score. Just don't let them score. Don't give them that satisfaction, eh?
The parliamentary rugby team has an impressive history, and in past years has boasted some mighty wins against teams from Australia, Britain, Canada and South Africa. They were Parliamentary Rugby World Cup winners in 2011. Having the odd former All Black who's also an MP often helps.
Nice beef. Oh yeah, go Jack.
These days, the team has a handful of MPs who are enthusiastic players and can still put up an impressive performance.
They're doing pretty good, actually. I haven't had to get out there too many times. They're even got a little bit of pace here too, as well.
For this match against the Chatham Islands team, just a few of the players are elected politicians. The rest are parliamentary security staff, journalists, a TV cameraman and some ring-ins, friends and relatives with a more serious sporting pedigree, perhaps.
Awesome to see your colleagues, although I wish we had a few more. I suppose some of them got put off by the wet weather.
When it comes to performance on the sporting field, our parliamentary teams have nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, they can hold their heads high.
It's a really good, tough game. Lots of, it's tough in the contact area, and it's good.
Despite the differences in politics, gender, race and upbringing, our members of parliament seem to be able to get on well enough and to be able to work together. They can dish out punishment on the netball court or rugby field, but in our parliament, we certainly never had or could imagine scenes like these.
In the Westminster system, I've had a lot of visits to other parliaments that are very similar to ours, that have a Sergeant of Arms and have standing orders and Speaker's rulings. When you go to some of the South American parliaments or some of the European parliaments, they too are also structured, but they often have fights. You just wouldn't see that happen here, and you wouldn't see it happen in the United Kingdom, Canada or Australia. The behaviour of those countries is pretty mild compared to the behaviour of some of the other parliaments or legislative authorities around the world.
Our parliament, modelled on the House of Commons in London, is the very paradigm of decorum. In Wellington, we've carried on some of the ancient and quaint customs which underline the dignity of the Speaker and his rule over the assembled MPs.
G'day, welcome to the Office of the Sergeant at Arms. I'm Brent Smith. I've been here for 14 years and I'll show you something about what the Sergeant of Arms does. Every Westminster Parliament has a mace. When the Parliament is sitting in session, the mace sits on the top of the table. When it goes into committee, the mace is under the table. It's even guarded during the dinner break. The main thing to remember is the mace originally was a weapon of war. It was a very short weapon of war. It was used on horseback or foot, and it was also used as the principal instrument for a Sergeant of Arms to arrest people. And over the years, it has now changed where the Sergeant of Arms is still the principal for the Speaker in Parliament and often termed as the Speaker's policeman. If a Member of Parliament mentions something that's unparliamentary language...
Totally offensive and utter lie, and he should apologise. At least I got employed by the firm you didn't. Order.
Then the Speaker will ask that person to either withdraw and apologise, or if it's serious, the Speaker will direct that person to leave the chamber.
Mr. Speaker, you did not tell me that I would not get a supplementary question.
Order.
You've decided arbitrarily to do that now.
Order. The member will immediately... The member will now leave the chamber.
And when the person leaves the chamber, it's the sergeant's responsibility to help them leave.
Brent Smith also has a sword. Not that he ever uses it in anger.
All Sergeant of Arms have a sword, and they can wear the sword in the house if they want. We don't have the practice of wearing the sword in the house.
The ceremonial sword, although never worn, has a practical use.
In our particular parliament, we have got box seats with a bench, and the distance between the Prime Minister's box and the box for the Leader of the Opposition is 2 sword lengths, and that derives from what happened in the House of Commons, where the same measurement applies between the cross benches between the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition when a person has a sword and is lunging. It's that length twice.
I take offence from that question.
When people come here and realise the rules and where the rules come from and the history, it's all the cornerstone of a Westminster democracy and a good parliamentary system. One of New Zealand's benefits is that when we have an election, no one dies.
About an hour's drive up State Highway 1, Green Party member Catherine Delahunty is visiting the site of a significant victory for conservation.
Well, we're going up to Waikanae, up the Kapiti Coast, to meet with Patricia Grace, to visit her land because it was threatened under a law called the Public Works Act, which has the right to take land for things like motorways. And she managed to stop it at the last moment, but it's inspired me to get a bill in front of Parliament to stop this law from taking any more Māori land. Kia ora. Thank you so much for coming in today.
That's all right.
I really appreciate it.
Yes, good.
But it's for the greater good. Well, I find it quite heartbreaking because I know that Patricia Grace had to go to court to defend this piece of whenua. And when you see it, they've defended this small block, this remnant which belongs to this whānau, and yet right next to it, they're still going to live with the impact because it's got a bloody great motorway that we don't need right next to it. And this bill, inspired by the Grace whānau story, is about making sure that no more collectively owned Māori whenua can be taken under public works.
Once you get into court sometimes, you're on much better ground, you know, because the judges listen to everything. They listen to oral history.
But then many people don't get to court because they don't
know.
No,
and I wouldn't have understood that either. I thought that would be a very tough battle.
Yeah.
I even thought we would lose. The Public Works Act has been something that's been discussed by Māori people over the years, you know, knowing the devastation that it's been able to cause with Māori land being taken.
Ordinary people should never give up on naming the issues and fighting for their land. But they need allies in Parliament. That's what I'm there to be. I should be working for the people. And they have a voice and they have the right to use me for that voice.
Back in Wellington at Victoria University, Catherine Delahunty's colleague, Green Party co-leader James Shaw, is working at the grassroots.
So did you say your flatmate wants to be a politician? No, what did you say?
You're my favourite politician.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
You're my favourite student.
Oh, yay.
We've got an established campus group here, but orientation, when everyone comes back at the start of the year, is the key moment when you get to recruit students for the upcoming year. So we're putting a really big effort into it this year.
He's been very vocal on some things that I'm very passionate about.
There's an amazing number of ICT.
He's trying to interest students in the Green Party and what it stands for.
For me personally, young people, and university students in particular, are really critical to the Green Party, right? So most political parties are coalitions of retirees and university students. And so young people actually tend to be your best campaigners. They provide a lot of dynamism. They don't know what can't be done, so they're quite happy to kind of go out and do all sorts of stuff and so on. So I think that they're absolutely vital to our success. So I want to use, I guess, my position as co-leader to try and drive, more students into the campus group.
All my friends support Greens just because I think they include the youth quite a lot. They think about the next generation, the environment and all that stuff. So, yeah, I think, all the incentives are heading the right way.
This is an opportunity not only to win hearts and minds, but also maybe to persuade some young voters to consider voting Green at the next general election.
It's not hard, right? It's not complex. They've got issues that they're concerned about. They tend to be concerned about similar issues to those things that the Green Party are concerned about, like climate change and inequality and housing and so on. And so you have a very brief conversation with them, and generally the ones that you talk to are just like, great, sign me up. Well, I mean, what we're doing obviously is the same as what everyone else is doing, right? We're just trying to get people on our database so we can spam you. But we're trying to set up a group on campus this year to help with the climate change campaign, the inequality campaign, and later on in the year, the local authority campaign, which actually does affect students quite a lot. So if you're interested in joining Mona and the team on the campus, if I could grab your details.
Politicians are all over the age of 30, Also, you can't get involved until you turn 18. So for the first 17 years of your life, you just kind of have to sit back and not do any and realise you don't have any power. And so I think when people turn 18, they see, the older people and just think, you're not meant to. It's not for you.
Personally, I don't believe in apathy, right? I just believe that there's a lot of people out there who just don't feel like they've got a good enough reason to vote. I'll give you an example, right? During the city council elections, about 40% of people vote, and during the general election, about 75% of people vote. And so for those people who don't vote in the general election, it's because they don't feel like they've got a real stake in it. So one of the things that we've got to prove is that we're worth voting for.
People really can't complain about the government and then not vote. Like, it just doesn't make sense, especially for young Māori, because I'm Māori as well. For young Māori, they definitely need a vote, especially when they complain about no jobs up north, you know, stuff like that, the roads up north, stuff like that. They need to vote. That's how you make a change in the system.
Tēnā koutou. E rangi, e papa, e te whānau atua. Whakatōhia te manaakitanga. Whakatōhia tō koutou manaakitanga. Ki roto I tēnei mahi ā-motu.
In Parliament's Grand Hall, Green Party MP Marama Davidson is welcoming guests at the launch of an interfaith group.
Kia ora mai tātou katoa. Ko Marama Davidson, tōku ingoa, he me mapāremata o te ropu kākariki.
She's well qualified to address this gathering, as before she entered Parliament last year, she spent a decade with the Human Rights Commission. And she brings to politics a deep personal commitment to social justice and equality. Former Prime Minister Helen Clark is also there to lend her prestige and her UN credentials to this initiative.
Talofa lava, nana nei, whakaloku mahi atu, kia ora hula, namaste, sat sri akal, salam alaikum.
Getting many religions and their leaders together to discuss New Zealand's secular values of tolerance and harmony is seen as a way of avoiding the many problems caused by intolerance and sectarianism.
New Zealand is a country of tremendous diversity, and we have a choice to embrace it and run with it and make it a virtue and celebrate unity and diversity, or not to do those things and have a lot of trouble. So it's a no-brainer to support a centre for religious diversity.
Marama.
Yes.
Hi, kia ora. I'm Sapna. I don't know, we've corresponded with you quite a bit about bits and pieces coming on a radio show and things like that.
That's right, yeah.
I thought I'd introduce myself.
Thank you so much for coming to say hello. I always appreciate that when I've only communicated with people online.
So you don't know who I'm talking to.
Yeah, that's always good, A face to a name. This is the way to justice and peace. Getting people together across these differences and finding that common ground is the way to justice and peace for the world, and we have to keep doing this.
Marama Davidson is finding parliamentary life a mixed blessing. It has delivered empowerment to promote causes to which she's deeply committed, but it drags her away from the family so dear to her heart.
My children, my whole family, for the first time ever in our lives, one of their family is in Parliament. That's huge. And then the other side is that I hardly get to see them now. So that's the sacrifice side. And out of anybody, I think it's the young ones who give up the most. I remember the first time when I got home, my daughter, my little girl came running out to the gate before I could even put my suitcase down and just grabbed and clung like a piri pawa. Just clung. And it was, realising what this job means. Mum is going to be away. It's huge. What I dislike about politics is how agonisingly slow it is to get real change, especially real progressive change. What I like about politics is the empowerment that I have to travel, to meet people, to do my job, and the platform and the profile. We need that. People need to know who I am to want to be involved in what I'm doing. People need to know who the Green Party is. I like that being a politician resources me to do that stuff as well. As an activist, when we're all poor, far out, it's tough just to get to the next hikoi. I like that. I feel really privileged about having been resourced to do that stuff. To be here as an MP is huge. I hope I never stop waking up marvelling at that. I hope I never freak out at that. I hope I will always continue to go, wow, because that's what I'm using to remind me in the hard times. Happy to be here, happy to be here. Yeah.
Got everything?
I have. All right, we'll see you on Monday. All right, I'll be in touch.
When she leaves Parliament on Thursday after the House rises, it's a quick scramble back to her hotel room to pack and head off back home to Auckland and to her husband and kids.
That whole area is all gifts from loved ones and friends, and I put it there specifically to try and put a little bit of home into my Wellington flat.
And wouldn't you know it, her taxi of choice is also a green cab. Next time on The Political Game, breaking the sound barrier as Parliament's only deaf politician raises her voice on behalf of animal welfare.
Let that calf open banned immediately.